Hi. Greetings from Wisdom Lord Raphael. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification icon and don't miss any contents. This is the light novel of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. If you haven't watched previous video, I will leave the link on the description box, or you can click here. Let's start. This is Tensura Light Novel Volume 16. Tensura Light Novel. Volume 16. The End of the Game. Chapter 2. Interviews. Executive's Evolutionary Status. Last part. I couldn't think straight at the moment, so I would meet with Ajera at another time. The personal interviews had now concluded successfully. I didn't want to work anymore today, because I had a meeting with Masayuki and his friends tomorrow, although I didn't need sleep either way. I returned to my more relaxed slime state and hid under the covers. For some reason, I felt very comfortable in this darkness. Okay, then I will report. Excuse me, I'm done with work. This is about master's skills, so it's not work. That was fine for Ciel, because it was their hobby, but for me, this was no different from work. But even if I said that, Ciel wouldn't listen to me, would they? Sooner or later, I would have to do this anyway, so I gave up resisting. Actually, I was kind of looking forward to it. I'm sure there would be some crazy results, and I was well prepared. The integration went very smoothly without me having to go into sleep mode. It took about a day and a half to complete the integration, but I was having private interviews, so there was no problem. Well, that's how it was. Since I had been asked for permission to use skill alteration in the middle of a real battle, there was no reason to stop the activity. I would have been furious if that had happened. The report began silently in my mind, and the information immediately showed up. Well then, let's see what it's like, shall we? Name, Rimuru Tempest. Existence points, 8,681,123. Plus. Draconic Sword. 2.28 million. Race, Supreme Chaos Spirit, Ultimate Slime. Grace, Grace of Friendship. Title, Chaos Creator. Magic, True Dragon Magic. Greater Spirit Summoning. Greater Demon Summoning. Other. Skill. Mana's, Ciel. Intrinsic Skill. Universal Perception. Dragon Spirit Hockey. Universal Shapeshift. Ultimate Skill. Void God Azathoth. Harvest King Shub-Niggurath. Resistance. Physical Attack Nullification. Natural Effects Nullification. Abnormal Condition Nullification. Mental Attack Nullification. Holy Demonic Attack Resistance. The result looked like this. I didn't realize it before, but my existence value was amazing. If I include the increase in number with my sword, it would reach 10 million. Now the straight sword I was very familiar with was at the mythical level. Its shape had been altered by my race's characteristics, and I had decided to call it the Draconic Sword for convenience. It also had 2 holes in it. The sword seemed to be evolving smoothly to my satisfaction. If I gave it an official name, would it evolve? There's no way. No. I might give it a try, but I didn't want to give it a random name. If I came up with a nice name, I would change it. Even if existence value and total amount of magicules was outstanding, it did not mean that I could let my guard down. Benimaru, Diablo, and Zijin, not to mention Tensura and the other demon girls, all had very high combat abilities. Tensura, for example, had fought very well against Velgrynd, who had almost 10 times the amount of magicules. As you can see from this example, the most important thing was not the size of the existence value, but how skillfully one could use their power. That overall power was the combined strength of one's magicule quantity, skill level, combat ability, and skills. Everyone had used their powers to the fullest during the battle against the Imperial Army. Looking at the battles ahead, I knew that I could not be left behind. Anyway, at this stage, I was still in the lead, ahead of Carrere. Reassured by the current status, I turned my attention to the other things. The blessing, protection I got from Veldora had disappeared, and now I was my own protector. I went from being under protection to becoming the one providing the protection. I really had grown. But now was not the time to be escaping reality. I knew I was not at the level of feeling comfortable, but why did I only have 2 skills now? As if to answer my question, Ciel happily began its explanation. First of all, I no longer needed Wisdom King Raphael and Gluttonous King Beelzebub, so I integrated. Hey, wait. What did you just say? What did you just say in such a refreshing tone of voice? It said that it used the Wisdom King Raphael, which was basically like its mother, for the integration, because it didn't need it. Is there a problem? Apparently, I had not heard wrong. No, I knew there was no way I could have misheard, but I didn't think it would actually do it. But if the Wisdom King Raphael was gone, wouldn't Ciel be able to exist as well? No. I'm already independent, so there's nothing to worry about. Ciel calmly answers my question. Even Wisdom King Raphael, which can be considered as its own mother. I was surprised that Ciel could consume it so easily, but according to them, the skill was already an empty shell, so there was no problem. What mattered more was the contents. Ciel seemed to have done the work without any emotion or sentimentality. Eliminate all useless abilities and do everything thoroughly. However, although there was no problem, was it really necessary to consume gluttonous King Beelzebub as well? Of course. Maybe I should have confirmed before approving anything. In the face of my weak questioning, Ciel replied to my questions, as if understanding me, and forcefully went ahead with the explanation. As it turned out, my skills had changed so much that they had not retained their original forms. This was no longer the level of modification. No, my skills really were integrated and modified, but there was still something unacceptable about it. So then, let's talk about the key skills. The first, Void God Azathoth, was created by merging Wisdom King Raphael and Gluttonous King Beelzebub. Not only that, but it seems that the Storm King Veldora and the newly acquired Scorch King Velgrynd were also sacrificed. However, I had inherited those powers, so there was nothing wrong with it. In other words, the ultimate skill Void God Azathoth contained the abilities: Soul Consumption, Turn Null, Imaginary Space, True Dragon Release, Scorch and Storm, True Dragon Core Transformation, Scorch and Storm, Space-Time Domination and Multidimensional Barrier. Even the original True Dragon summoning had disappeared. It seems that there were still no problems with unleashing or releasing it. In the first place, Veldora and the others actually came to me of their own free will, so it was the same without this power. The True Dragon Core transformation was more interesting, and as its name implied, it was literally the power to transform the dragons into a nucleus core that could fit into the hole openings in my sword. Once again, the True Dragon, a vast body of energy, would be condensed into the blade's core. It was frightening to imagine how much power that would generate. It appears that the dragon's approval is necessary, but it's too scary to imagine the timing of its use. Even without ever using it, it looks like this one is going to have to be sealed away. Well, at least Velgrynd would presumably decline it. But Veldora might want to try it just for fun. I was a little worried about that, so I decided to keep it a secret. Rather than that, what is truly dangerous is the original power of Void God Azathoth, which had been perfectly optimized after integration. Soul Consumption. A super-enhanced version of predation and gluttony that could even devour the target soul along with it. Turn Null. The ultimate destructive energy that fills the chaotic world. Full control over it was possible for the first time thanks to the manas. Imaginary Space. A chaotic world. The super-evolved version of Stomach and Isolation was a prison that locked away whatever should be isolated. Space-Time Domination. Instantaneous movement is possible by simply being aware of time and space. Affects even time. Multidimensional Barrier. A constantly active multi-layer barrier which provides absolute protection by a dimension fault, sub-dimensional fault defense field. That was Ciel's explanation. It was pretty terrifying. The fact that it would even try to implement such a modification in the middle of a battle was terrifying. However, there was one thing that I did not trust. The absolute defense by dimension fault. It claimed to be stronger and safer than even the distortion field, but I knew that there were no absolutes in this world. I would not fall for that. Besides, the moment Manga acquired Stellar Wind King Hastur, I had long since known that my skills would become very powerful. So, rather than being surprised, I was more horrified that with Void God Azathoth alone, all other powers were practically unnecessary. My second ultimate skill, naturally, was the Harvest King Shub-Niggurath. After the skill alteration, my powers had now become these two abilities. It's obvious that I had become more powerful than before the integration, but it occurred to me that there were some abilities that had disappeared. For example, Thought Acceleration was gone, but seemed to still be working fine. What did this mean? These abilities. Thought Acceleration. Predict future attack. Analyze and assess. Parallelism. Integration. Separation. Chant Cancellation. All of Creation. Food Chain. Thought Domination. Law Domination. And Attribute Transformation. All of these have been integrated into me, so it is now possible to respond more quickly. I suppose I should praise it as excellent. Perhaps it might even be overkill, but for the sake of the battles that would follow, a change in mindset was indeed necessary. The weaker I was, the more I would have to sacrifice. In order to settle the matter and enjoy a life of peace, there was no need to hold back or be polite. Now that I had confirmed my own strength, I decided to compare myself with Veldora. Name, Veldora Tempest. Existence points, 88,126,579. Race, Supreme Chaos Spirit, True Dragon. Grace, Blessing of Fertility, Storm Protection. Title, Storm Dragon. Magic, True Dragon Magic. Skill, Intrinsic Skill. Universal Perception. Dragon Spirit Hockey. Universal Shapeshift. Ultimate Skill. Chaos King. Nyarlathotep. Resistance. Physical Attack Nullification. Natural Effects Nullification. Abnormal Condition Nullification. Mental Attack Nullification. Holy Demonic Attack Resistance. This was the current status of Veldora. It goes without saying that his resistances were perfect, but what was most noteworthy was the extent of his existence value. That said, when I did look at the value, I was laughing rather than getting surprised. That guy, he had messed up when he was determining the value. It had happened just recently, after dinner. I had just finished a meeting with Ultima, so I tried to leave immediately. However, I was interrupted by Veldora. Kueahaha. Rimuru, I understand that you are having personal interviews with Benmeru and the others. I too have a lot of free time at the moment. I'm busy. I'm sorry, but I'll play with you after I'm finished. Wait. I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about your personal interview with me. There was no need to meet with Veldora. After all, it's not like Veldora was my subordinate, and if I really wanted to, I could just ask Ciel about it. No, we talk to each other all the time, so there's no need to have an interview, right? What? Don't say such lonely things. That's right. You should understand how lonely Master and I are. Even Ramrus joined in. But seriously, even if they say that, we do see each other all the time. Of course, I wanted to play with the Avatar Core too, but my work was more important. In the first place, we were currently in a war. It's just that the whereabouts of Feldway and his colleagues were still unknown, so I was able to rest a little. At the very least, until we were ready to intercept them, there was no time to play around. Don't be selfish. Once things are properly settled. No, I told you it's not that. I've grown stronger and I want to show off to you. I know you're busy, but what's the harm in keeping me company for a little while? That's right. You're the only one who can accurately measure the existence values, so I want you to come with us for a bit. That is to say, I have been concealing my existence value from when Ramrus measured it. I'm trying to prove it to you. That's absolutely impossible. It's true that we can't measure the numbers in too much detail, but it's impossible to fake it. I see. In other words, I was being involved in a very stupid argument. When things get to this point, these guys won't listen to anyone. Instead of trying to convince them, it would be easier to just go along with them. All right. Then let's go to the control room. With that, we began to measure Veldora's existence value. The measurement devices were linked to the monitors throughout the labyrinth, and the control panel in the control room managed them. Ciel was able to synchronize with the labyrinth itself, so it could take measurements no matter the location, although that was a secret. That's why we went to the control room. I didn't have much time, so we started right away. Master's existence value is 88 million. It's amazing, but Master insists that it's higher. I want Rimuru to scold him for being so vain. Indeed, it was value beyond imagination. Far from being average, even a million class ain't would be unable to win. So, were those numbers accurate? Yes. Veldora's existence value is definitely 88,126,579. They were almost identical. Too high of a value would cause the machine to lose accuracy, but it was still sufficient to measure labyrinth challengers and intruders. That said, if Veldora was really able to fake the numbers, it meant that the system was flawed. This would be a problem that could not be ignored, so it was necessary to check. I was a little impressed that this trip didn't end up being a total waste of time. Now, it all depended on whether or not Veldora was actually able to fake the numbers. My measurement is 88.12 million, so it's almost the same. So, are the values going to continue rising from here? Or will they be under-measured? Either way, I needed to know the approach. Think about countermeasures. I urged Veldora to demonstrate. With a proud look on his face, Veldora smugly began taking off his coat. No way, could it be that? My body, which would not have been sweating, felt like a cold sweat had fallen. Veldora began to laugh loudly. Kuahahaha. Take a good look, this is my true power. With a thud, his coat fell to floor, and with another thud, the wristbands on Veldora's arms and legs rolled off, shaking the ground. Hey. Taking off your heavy clothes doesn't mean the numbers will go up. Maybe he was feeling warm. What is measured here is mainly energy levels, which has nothing to do with direct combat power. But Veldora. Kuahahaha. How about that? Try measuring now. I don't care if it breaks. This is embarrassing. Now that I understood what he was trying to do, I couldn't help but feel sorry for the pitiful Veldora. I've measured it, and there is not the slightest change in values. There's no change. The Veldora, you know. Master, after all that, it's still the same 88 million. Ah, Ramrus went straight to the point so harshly. Don't be stupid. Rimuru, what's the truth? My numbers have doubled, haven't they? I looked at Veldora with pity. If it was Yauki, you could hide it, but existence values are completely different. Then I carefully explained to Veldora that these values were not a measurement of combat power like in manga, but rather a measurement of energy. Needless to say, Veldora turned bright red once he realized his mistake. Well, it still makes me laugh even now, but there was no doubt that his magicule count was tremendous. Even if I examine it seriously, there is no way to harm him except with attacks at the ultimate level. Moreover, the skill that Veldora acquired was also extremely troublesome. His skill evolved into Chaos King Nyarlathotep by Ciel's modification, which included Thought Acceleration, Analyze and Assess, All of Creation, Probability Manipulation, Parallel Existence, Investigation of Truth, Space-Time Manipulation, and Multidimensional Barrier. The practical convenience had been greatly improved after the Ciel's integration. Even Veldora had acquired Parallel Existence. I understand from the battle with Velgrynd that this was troublesome, but in the case of Veldora, he also has probability manipulation, which makes him seem truly immortal. In the first place, as long as I didn't die, he was indestructible. Because the core of Veldora remained within me, his memories and feelings were backed up. If he could produce a split body in addition to this, it might be impossible to destroy him. I laughed about the existence value mistake, but he really was reliable to have on our side. Well, Veldora's existence value was more than 10 times that of mine, and even if I fought him, I probably couldn't win, though I did have a few doubts. Not only did I defeat Velgrynd, I even predated her. The value of Velgrynd's existence at that time was 26.87 million. At that time, I predated a little over 50% of them, and about 30% of it was in recovery. That 30% seemed to be trying to come back to the side that I predated. As expected of Ciel, they did not miss a thing. So, back to the main point. I felt that my existence value seemed a bit low for the amount of energy I had consumed. Well, I still think that I'm strong enough as it is, and I also still think it's one's fighting sense that is important, but I was still a little concerned. As for that, it's only natural. The predated energy was once taken in, but it was turned into the master's flesh and blood before using True Dragon release. Well, what does that mean? In other words, Master's maximum existence value is correct when the values of Veldora's and Velgrynd's existence values are added together. What? I couldn't help but be dumbfounded. In other words, it was only when I released True Dragon release that I would be able to display my maximum power. But you know, since the output is the same, it might be the same even if the energy increases. Even Velgrynd might have shifted to increasing the number because the upper limit had been reached. Of course, there was no limit to an increase in power, but it was meaningless if it didn't hit the target. Once you reach the level of shattering stars, it becomes more difficult to control the power. I was deeply convinced that there was no point in focusing on maximum power. For reference here, I predated Velgrynd, whose existence value at that time was estimated to be 49,829,987. It should have been almost perfect because of Ciel's calculations, but now, her existence value had increased more. Name: Velgrynd. Existence points: 74,350,087. Race: Supreme Chaos Spirit. True Dragon. Grace: Scorch Affection. Title: Scorched Dragon. Magic: True Dragon Magic. Skill: Intrinsic Skill. Universal Perception. Dragon Spirit Hockey. Universal Shapeshift. Ultimate Skill: Divine Flame King Katuga. Resistance: Physical Attack Nullification. Natural Effects Nullification. Abnormal Condition Nullification. Mental Attack Nullification. Holy Demonic Attack Resistance. This was Velgrynd's current status. After returning from a 20% reduction in status, there had been a significant increase. Rather than growth, should I say evolution. The power was still the same as it had been after Ciel had changed it, but I'm sure Velgrynd must have mastered it. The contents of the Divine Flame King Katuga included Thought Acceleration, Thermal Excitation, Parallel Existence, Space-Time Manipulation, Dimension Leap, and Multidimensional Barrier. Also, for me, it had only been a few days since we split up, but it was still unknown just what kind of experience Velgrynd had gained. I would be meeting her tomorrow, so I was wondering about how I should talk to her. I was afraid of what might happen if I offended her, so I decided to be careful to avoid a secondary conflict. In this way, the status confirmation by Ciel via personal interviews was successfully completed. That's all for today, hope you guys enjoy it. Please check my other videos. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the notification icon. And don't miss any updates. Thank you for watching.